Hello and welcome into Talk Illini here with Orange and Blue News, part of the On3 network. We are going to be talking a little bit of Illini basketball with some big news coming out of one of the players on the team being freshman of the week in the Big Ten, and then also get into Texas Tech and what you can expect for the Illini versus them. All right, so let's before we do that though, please do like, subscribe, do all that good stuff. Definitely helps out the channel and helps bring you more awesome Illini content. Sonny, we had David Mirkovic named as the freshman of the week in the Big Ten from just this past week. He was excellent, had really, really good numbers. What are your thoughts on David getting this honor?
Well deserved. It's funny. We're kind of spoiled here because it went to David, which again, well deserved, but it very well could have gone to Keaton Wagler at this point with the numbers that he produced as well. It's a stellar start. We saw a glimpse of it against Illinois State in that exhibition matchup, and then the secret scrimmage against the Florida Gators. Everyone said that, or at least everyone that I spoke to said that David was one of the engines behind that whole offense. And then you see his debut against Jackson State, against Florida Gulf Coastal. The kid is real, and this is his first freshman of the week, but I would be surprised if it was his only freshman of the week this season.
That's what I was gonna say. Is like, are we really surprised this is happening with a Brad Underwood team? Because it just seems like every single season, it's like, yep, we brought in a freshman, and he's really, really good, and he's gonna get some honors, which he is well deserved. Like you said, back-to-back double doubles. The two games, he averaged 18 points, 12 and a half rebounds, along with 2.5 assists in both games, or averaging in the two games there. And we're gonna need Mirkovic a lot in this matchup against Texas Tech, who has some star power, some size. It's a really good matchup between these two teams, and I'm excited to see what Brad Underwood and the guys come out there with, especially with injuries and stuff. I'm excited to see who actually plays, how much they play. What are your thoughts with the rotation? Who could we see? Who could we maybe see a little bit less of? What are your thoughts, Sonny?
So it's interesting. Brad Underwood had a press conference earlier on Monday, and he basically announced that Tom Slavovicic and Brandon Lee are going to be out for the game. Of course, same with Ty Rogers. Andrei Stojakovic, with him, he's been able to practice, but it's been how he's felt the day after. But it looks like Stojakovic felt okay on Saturday, the day after the game. So I'm assuming he's going to be good to go Tuesday night against Texas Tech. And the surprising one was that Brad mentioned that Mihailo Petrovic should be in uniform. Now, whether that means he actually plays, I don't know. Brad made a point to mention that he's only been in 7 of 32 practices and that he's got a lot of catching up to do. But that could be another potential weapon that you might have against Texas Tech, because let's be honest, JR, they're going to need each and every one of them. Texas Tech is the ranked number 11 in the new AP rankings. Illinois has been bumped up 3 spots to number 14. And it's not just Texas Tech. They're going up against arguably the best basketball player in the country in JT Toppin and his partner in crime, Christian Anderson, who has looked fantastic so far this year. You're talking about like a Shaq Kobe combo, I think someone mentioned in my mentions earlier today, and they couldn't be more correct. Those two are two of the best basketball players, especially with Tomislav Ivisic not playing on Tuesday night. Texas Tech might have the 2 best players on the basketball.
Good news is that we do have Zvonimir Ivisic. Big Z looked really, really good on defense this past game, and not just defense. He was doing a good job shooting the ball as well. So, as far as I'm concerned, yes, losing Tomislav Big T is not good, and we definitely want him back. But this team is deeper, and this team has more versatility with the lineup, which I think you saw in the first 2 games. And if you bring back Mihailo Petrovic, that could be huge as well. Do you know, was Andrei Stojakovic, was he dressed the first game, or was there anybody dressed for a game that didn't play earlier this year?
Not that I know of, but I just think there's no reason for Brad Underwood to mention it without it being a possibility. Obviously, you also don't want to aggravate it more. Like supposedly that trial run that he had in the secret scrimmage against Florida, he re-aggravated it, and that's what's kept him out the last couple of weeks. And maybe there's a part of Brad where he doesn't want to test it out too much, especially against competition like Texas Tech. Maybe you wait until Colgate, the very next game, to let Petrovic go out there, because really you want him ready for the Alabama game, right? That's going to be coming up next week. But Between Zavonimir, he had one of his great high games against Florida Gulf Coast. But if you followed his career, he tends to follow great games with average games, with sub-average games. So we're going to be counting on him a lot because JT Toppin is the offensive scorer that he can get Z in foul trouble very quick. And then what do? Do you switch off to Mirkovic guarding JT Toppin? Okay, that's fine. But now you're putting a burden on David Mirkovic to be a guy who's going to be one of your main scorers on offense, but also handle the toughest guard or the toughest big in all of college basketball and put your efforts there too. And that's asking a lot of a freshman, as good and as dynamic as this young kid looks like. But, that's why Brad gets paid this big money. And as you mentioned, the one advantage that Illinois does have is the Raiders might have the two best players on the court, but I think Illinois clearly has a depth advantage. You don't know who's going to be the ace on Tuesday evening. It could be Kylan Boswell. Again, I think that's who my eyes are personally focused on. JT Toppin, quite honestly, with Big Tommy out, JT is going to go for 30 and 15. I feel like you can write it down. That's just going to happen. But that doesn't mean that one guy can beat your entire team. Illinois is way too deep for that. So for me, my eyes are focused on Kylan Boswell and Christian Anderson. Can Kylan keep up with Christian to neutralize him? If he can, and Kylan can have the similar type of game that he had against FGCU, I think our depth has enough offense to it that the Texas Tech Raiders are going to have trouble keeping up.
Yeah, and I also like the size advantage for Illinois in this game as well. I know Tomislav is out, but Zavonimir, 7 foot, 7'1", somewhere in that range there. He's obviously got the size advantage there on JT Toppin. I think you could also put David Mirkovic. We just talked about him at the beginning of the show. I think he could be put on Toppin as well at certain points during this game. And then who knows, put Ben Hummerkaus or somebody else on him. I'm not vying for that matchup, but I'm just saying you have the versatility to be able to put some of these guys on them because they do match up with the size of Toppin well enough to be able to go in on that. And then I think also you mentioned Kylan Boswell, another guy in the backcourt that we need to think about is Keaton Wagler in this one. 6'6", he has incredible length. If he could kind of keep showing that maturity as well this game, I think he could be somebody that could be getting in some of these passing lanes and kind of denying some of these passes to JT Toppin that could limit Christian Anderson and him in that combo as well. So for me, I'm going to be looking at the defense most in this game. It's one of my keys with this Illinois team year after year after year. We know Brad Underwood recruits excellent offensive talent, guys who can shoot, guys are going to be able to put the ball in the bucket. It's going to be at home. The crowd's going to be behind them. What do they do when they start getting on a run? Are they going to be able to get those 1, 2, 3 stops in a row so that way Illinois can get on an 8, 9, 10-point run? And if at some point you go on a big run in this game, you can just put Texas Tech away and say, there it is. We're done with it.
Yeah, and sometimes people say the best defense is just a really potent offense. And this Illinois team has 3 players right now averaging over 20 points per game, and a fourth, David Mirkovic, who's at 18. You mentioned Keaton Wagler, 26.5 rebounds, 3.5 assists. And what really jumped out at me is in the game against Florida Gulf Coast, he had 0 turnovers. Again, he plays mistake-free. He plays beyond his years, and it's been one heck of a find by Brad Underwood and this coaching staff. But Tuesday night it's going to be different. It's as much as we want to applaud the performance and be excited about this Illini team this year, we haven't had that competition level that we're going to be facing at the State Farm Center on Tuesday night. And obviously, you wish Tomislav Ivisic was healthy. You wish Mihailo Petrovic would be healthy. Heck, you wish Andrei Stojakovic would be 100%, but that's simply not the case. It looks like Texas Tech is going to come in to State Farm fully healthy and ready to go, and it's just a next man up mentality for Brad. There's a reason he likes to schedule these tough non-conference games, and it's to get his team ready for the grueling Big Ten season and March down the road. And so, of course, he probably planned it so that he'd have his key players playing, but they're not. And who knows? This could be a growing moment for a guy like Big Z, who I mentioned earlier. If he can step up, he can try to stay out of foul trouble. Look, if poor Merck has to guard JT Toppin, if Z can switch over every now and then, or at least provide some sort of, threat to blocking JT's shot, just make JT think twice. That's all you want. You want JT to pass the ball off. And if Big Zavonimir can, contribute on the defensive end, that should be fine. That's one of the reasons you spent so much money on bringing in Tommy's twin, because he's a really talented basketball player in his own right.
Totally true, and I think you make a great point with Zavonimir being a threat to, go up against these guys and block away their shots. I couldn't think of the word for there for a second, but to be able to block their shots, one of the things with Zavonimir when he was at Arkansas was he could rack up the blocks, but he wasn't somebody that if he wasn't getting the block, he wasn't always contesting the shots. And if they can continue to work on him, and so that he's also a threat in addition to getting these blocks, it's going to be even better in this game and in the games to come. You're going to see good big man play in the Big Ten. Obviously, it's not what it used to be, but you're still going to see good big men play in the Big Ten. You're going to see good big men play here in the out of conference as well. And I think that Illinois has a great shot in this game, even with the injuries and everything. I'm looking at this team. I'm looking at the depth. They've given me a lot of confidence. And you know who else thinks that Illinois has a great shot in this game, Stutney? It's KenPom. KenPom has Illinois as the number 3 team in the nation right now. Texas Tech number 14. So I know it's only been 2 games in. We shouldn't take too much of it, but this Illinois team, the numbers do love them, and there's not too many areas that have red on their little team summary or whatever. Pretty much everything is in the green, and the thing that I like most is a lot of the defensive statistics are in the green as well. Which if they can keep that going in this one, it's going to be huge.
Yeah, there's a lot of storylines to be really excited about when it comes to the Illini in this young season. But I think for me personally, I want to see them take care of business at home Tuesday evening. I know they're shorthanded, but if somehow they can pull this off, and I say somehow, I believe, JR, they're actually favored to win this game, which shocked me, well, without Tomislav Ivisic playing.
Mm-hmm.
But if they do end up prevailing and beating a really good Texas Tech team, really well coached, and again, you have 2 of the best players in all of college basketball, that to me is going to trigger me to the point where, like, okay, it's time to get excited.
Yeah, looks like Illinois favored by 5.5 in this
Wow.
one out there. So I mean, it's the home court advantage, right? I mean, obviously that's not all of it, but that's a huge part of it. I mean, nobody wants to come in; they don't want to face the Orange Crush as well as Brad Underwood and his boys. And so, and this one, I think Illinois has got a great shot in this one, even with the injuries and everything else. Sonny, very very positive stuff. Is there anything before we move on? Is there anything you're concerned about? Anything that like is giving you the worries a little bit in this game? And if so, how do you think Illinois rectifies it?
I mean, we kind of referenced it earlier. I just know, or I have a feeling that JT is going to be able to get Big Z in foul trouble early in the game, and then what? What's the backup plan? Is it David Mirkovic? I shudder at the idea that JT Toppin is going to be guarded by Ben Humrickhouse, Jason Jackstis or whatnot. But for me, then you just kind of shift your strategy to let JT do what he needs to do. Let him get 35 and 19, which I think he did the other day, but then focus on the rest of the players, because they're clearly not as deep as this Illinois team is, and there's not many teams in the country that are. You mentioned KenPom, they're ranked number 3. Their offense, I believe, is the second best offense in the entire country. So rely on those guys. Keep the Texas Tech defense on their heels, and who knows? All you have to do at the end of the game is score more points than the other team. And I think this Illinois team, if there's one thing they're absolutely really good at this year, it's going to be putting the ball in the basket.
Totally agree. Totally agree. And on KenPom, they have Texas Tech right now shooting at 65% from free throw. That is well below the national average out there. National average is 71%. They're down at 65%. So even if they do get Illinois in some foul trouble, maybe they get some luck with some poor free throw shooting or something. So, all right, looking forward to this one. We will be posting a video after the fact of this game. So look for that. A lot of people go live. We're going to be posting a video. Might go live at some point, but you can look for a recap video after the game is over, whether the next morning or maybe an hour or 2 after or something. So, Sonny, anything else before we get out of here?
Nope, just now the real season starts. We had some little battles along the way, but those were just kind of warm up exercises. Now we get to finally see how good this Illini team really is.
Very good. And as always, check in at Orange and Blue News. Go on over to the On3 network. A lot of great stuff over there. And Carson writing articles on recruiting, and Doug with his coverage of the team. Great stuff there, in addition to Talk Illini here. We'll see you next time. Have a good one.